Hey everyone, Michael O'Brien here, and today we're going to talk about how to connect on a more personal level with your audience. Hello my friends, and welcome back to another episode of Advice for Magicians, where my job is to make you the best possible entertainers that you can be. Now in today's video, we're going to talk about how to connect with your audience on more of a personal level, right? I'm not talking about you did some really cool tricks and then you walk away and the people were like, oh, those tricks were really cool. But I want someone to actually connect with you, to feel something, right? You want to walk away with people going, wow, that guy was really cool, right? I really enjoyed his company. He was super fun to talk to. The magic was incredible, all of this stuff. I had a student of mine recently reach out to me and say, hey, I want to start working on how to connect a little bit better because I'm having a hard time doing that. The magic is okay. Not really any complaints with the tricks that I'm doing. I just feel like people are like, oh, cool, awesome, magic, cool, thanks buddy, that was great. And that's kind of it. So in this video, we're gonna talk about how to do that, right? Now, before I do, if you haven't already done so, please go ahead and click the subscribe button. Don't forget to ring that notification bell. That way you guys know anytime I upload a new video. And if you'd like to take your magic to the next level, I highly recommend that you click the join button as well and become a member of the mob. We have an all new family meetings session that goes out the first Saturday of every month. And I'd love to see you guys in there. You can join these by becoming a member of the mob. If you click on the membership tab, there is a list of all of the different perks that you get depending on what tier you join. And just before we get started here, I'd like to introduce you to some of our newest members. So ladies and gentlemen, please say hello to John Phillips, Jim Ackerman, Anand, Spaghetti Ted, and David of the Goldman Group. Thank you guys so much for becoming members. It is because of you that I am able to keep this channel going. So from the bottom of my heart, thank you so, so much. All right, so how do I connect with my audience? Now, if you've watched any of my other videos on strolling magic and walk around magic, I've talked about these things before, but I wanted to kind of take all of these ideas and put them into one place in this video so that you guys are able to kind of grasp the full thing here. So for me, connecting with your audience is about showing them a couple of different things. Number one, that you're a human, right? You're not just some guy with a deck of cards. You want to connect with them by empathizing with them, right? And you want them to empathize with you. So having something in common that you guys can talk about together is going to allow you to do that. Another thing that you can do is you can show something that showcases your personality, right? If I do a pick a card trick, they pick the card, it goes in the deck, I do some fancy cuts, and then I find it, the magic might be pretty cool, but did they learn anything about you? Not necessarily. They might have just learned that, oh, this guy's a pretty good magician, right? But if I were to ask you then, hey, what do you think of Michael O'Brien? Oh, he's a good magician. Well, what else about him? I don't know, he did a card trick, right? So in order to connect more fully with them, you want them to take something else away, a little bit of knowledge about who you are as a person, right? And another thing that you can do, of course, is simply having a conversation with people, right? So those three things. So how do we do this, right? Whenever we're doing our walk arounds, what I usually do is I walk into a group, I introduce myself. Hey everyone, Michael O'Brien, I'm a magician. I shake everyone's hand. I'd like to show you guys some magic. Is that okay if I join you for a few minutes and show you some cool sleight of hand, right? Or whatever your opening line is. They say yes. I launch into my opening effect, and then after I'm done with my opening effect, the instinct that we all have is to, I got to go into my next one now. I got to put that away. I got to take the next thing out. I got to show them this. I got to put that away. I got to take the next thing out. I got to show them this. And you try to cram as much magic into that 5-7 minute space as possible. Now for me, what I do, I introduce myself. I do my opening piece, which is usually about a minute long, put that away. And then I take a minute to get to know people. Hi, what was your name, sir? What do you do for a living? You know, something as simple as that. Or, hi, how do we know each other? Are we coworkers? You guys friends with the bride and groom or whatever, right? So asking questions to get to know them and then taking what they say and using it to transition into your next thing. So for example, hi, what do you do for a living? Oh, you're an engineer. Jim, I got something perfect for you. I love engineers because you guys have very analytical brains, right? For me, it's all about the magic of it all. But maybe for someone like you, and correct me if I'm wrong, it might be more about the technical aspect of it, right? You're watching a magic trick and you're probably trying to work out how it works. Well, here, I got something that you'll absolutely love. And then I go into the Chinese linking rings, right? Your engineer brain is telling you there has to be a gap, but here, check these rings. They're completely solid. There's no openings, right? So taking that bit where he's an engineer, connecting with him on that, and then having him be specifically part of the next piece, now we're connected. I'm not just performing magic at him. He is part of the act, right? He's part of the story. And you can do that with the individual people that are all around you. It could be as simple as taking a deck of cards and being like, you young lady, what was your name? It was Nancy. A pleasure to meet you, Nancy. Do you have a favorite color, red or black? Red, perfect. We're going to use the red cards. And out of the red cards, your name, sir, was Jonathan. Nice to meet you, Jonathan. Out of the red cards, we have the hearts and the diamonds. Which would you prefer? Would you prefer a heart or diamond? Perfect. You're married, aren't you? I could tell because you like diamonds, right? I already know you got. Let me see. Is that your wife there? Can I? Oh my God! Look at that diamond on your finger. That is beautiful, right? You see how I'm connecting with them, and I'm asking them to narrow down to a card, and then we're going to use that card rather than just being like, here, go ahead and pick out a card, right? So there's some byplay happening where I'm interacting. I'm doing crowd work essentially, right? If you've ever seen like a stand-up comedy show, the stand-up comedian, they'll do something called crowd work, and this is where you don't just tell your jokes and people laugh, but you look into the audience and you go, sir, what do you do for a living? And blah, blah, blah. And then you make a joke about that, right? So you kind of want to do that when you're doing your magic. Getting people directly involved is going to get them to feel like they're more personally invested with what you're doing. And of course, you're going to connect with them better this way. So that's the first thing that I do. I simply talk to people throughout my act. I don't just run through the magic tricks. I take time in between each piece to get to know them. Now, I'm not saying you have to do like your trick, you rush through it, and then you sit down and you're like, okay, so tell me about you. All right, you do all of that stuff. Awesome. All right, now it's your turn. What's your name and what do you do for a living? It's not an AA meeting, right? You don't have to go around and necessarily do that. But just taking the time to pick out individual moments where you can get to know somebody else, right? My goal is always at the very end of my act, after I'm done doing my walk around performance and I'm leaving and everyone's saying bye. If I run into someone and they come up to me and they say that they love my magic, I want to be able to tell them something that I loved about them back. So let's just say Nancy comes running up to me and, oh, that was so much fun. Thank you so much. I really enjoyed it. Thank you so much, Nancy. I hope you enjoyed it too. And, good luck on that big interview that you've got coming up. I know you're going to kill it, right? Because we had that connection during my performance, right? So this is some way that you can connect with your audiences. And from a strictly business standpoint, this is very important because now that person is more inclined to want to have you at their event, right? So if you're a professional worker, their chances of hiring you have increased because they feel a connection with you. You're not just the guy that, played the guitar in the corner for 3 hours or whatever, right? You actually interacted with them. You got to know them in just a couple of minutes that you spent with them and all of that stuff, right? So the second thing that you can do is take something that you're very passionate about and inject that into your performance, right? Something that says something about who you are. So for me, I absolutely love Pokemon. I'm very proud of my Irish heritage. I love my family. I love anime, like all of this stuff, right? So what I do is I take these little bits and I inject them into my act. So I'll do something like this. I'll take off my hat and I'll say, I want to try to find something in my hat. What do most magicians have in their hat? Do you know? And this person will say, a rabbit. I'll go, yeah, a rabbit, right? Well, we're not going to pull a rabbit out of my hat. I'm not that type of magician. We're going to try something else. And most magicians use a magic wand, right? And I go like I'm looking for my magic wand. And I say, boom. But it's not a magic wand. It's like a bottle opener, like the bar key, right? And again, don't use a normal magic wand because I'm not that type of magician. You know what this is for? Someone will say it's a bottle opener. Yeah, you know what it's for, right? Opening bottles. Exactly. Bing, bing, bing. And then I produce the bottle of Guinness out of my hat, right? And so now what I've just told them, and that's usually like my opener, right? That's my opener. And what I tell them, my opener, get it? What I tell them is, I'm not that type of magician, and I set the Guinness down on the table. I say, well, I'll use this in just a moment. But first I have a question for you, and then I'll go into my discussion segment, and then I'll say, here, let's try something. Remember that bottle opener? Let's try something with that opener. And then I'll go into like Ninja Plus by Matthew Garrett. I'll link the bottle opener on the ring, and I'll use my finger ring and all of this stuff, right? So what they're getting out of this is he's very family oriented, because I talk about my family, like with my ring and stuff. Obviously proud of my Irish heritage, the newsboy cap, the Guinness, the Claddagh ring, all of that stuff, right? So they're learning things about me. They're learning things about what I'm passionate about. And then I'll say, a lot of people want to know how I got into magic. And the reason that I love magic so much is because it reminds me of being a kid again. And in fact, I wanted to bring you guys back to my childhood, if that's okay, right? What were you up to when you were 10 years old? You were playing baseball, you were chasing girls, whatever. What about you? You were taking piano lessons. So cool. I'm a musician myself. That's so awesome. I like to play music too. But when I was a little kid, what I was doing was I was playing Pokemon cards with my friends, and I take out my Pokemon cards and I go into my act. But you see how in between I kind of added questions. I threw questions in there. What did you do when you were 10? What did you do when you were 10? This is what I was doing when I was 10. And now I roll into the Pokemon. Pokemon has nothing to do with Guinness. I mean, it might. I don't know. If it does, you had an interesting childhood. But Pokemon has nothing to do with Guinness, but they were able to be connected together simply by the way that I interacted with people, right? So that's what I do. That's how I make this work in my act. What I highly recommend that you do is you make a list on a piece of paper. I want you to draw a line down the center of the paper, and in column A, I want you to make a list of all of the pieces of magic that you're currently performing, that you perform well. If I were to put you on the spot and say, show me something, you'd be able to do it and get through it without screwing up the trick or the trick falling apart or whatever. That's column A. And in column B, I want you to make a list of all the things that you're passionate about that have nothing to do with magic, right? So I did this exercise with a student, and one thing that he didn't realize that was something that was unique about him, I got it out of him eventually, but he's colorblind. And so I said, dude, colorblind is the thing that you can use to connect to your audiences. And he was like, how the heck am I going to do that? I'm going to say, because it speaks about who you are as a person, right? And a lot of people have maybe misconceptions about what it means to be colorblind. Maybe people think that all you can see is black and white, right? And you can't see any colors. That might not be true. So what you can do is you can put together an act where you mention during the act that you're colorblind, and these are the struggles that I've had to deal with in my life, and you can put an act together that focuses on that. So one thing that he came up with is socks. I've talked about socks on this channel before. That's that routine. Again, you've probably seen it on AGT where Aiden McCann had these little sock cards, and he's hyping it up like they're gonna match, but then they don't match, but then he's actually wearing the socks on the cards that they chose. So what my student did was he took this card trick and turned it into a game where he had these cards made, because he said something as simple as sorting his socks for him can be very challenging because it's hard for him to see the different colors. So he had these sock cards made, and what he had to do was he had to very quickly go through and find a matching pair, right? And then he will say something like, now I want you to do this, but of course you have an advantage. You can very clearly see that the socks are different colors because you're not colorblind. So what we'll do is we'll shuffle them and we'll do it face down. And I want you to just, on instinct, I want you to see how good your instinct is that you can pick out the socks that match. And of course they don't match. And then you say something along the lines of, actually, they do match, just not in the way that you think. They don't match each other, they match my socks. And then he shows that he's wearing the socks on the cards that they picked. And it's the same routine that you guys have seen before. It's the same socks routine, but with this story that matches his specific, unique situation. It's what makes him stand out above other magicians, right? So when the spectators walk away, they don't just go, yeah, he did a cool card trick, and like they had socks and he was wearing the socks in the cards that I picked, right? That's not what they're saying. Instead, they walk away and they go, yeah, he's colorblind, and he was able to do some really cool things despite the fact that he was colorblind. For example, he did this, this, and this, right? So you're connecting with your spectators on a more personal level when you inject things like that. Things about your life that some people might not know. Maybe you're religious, maybe you're very proud to be a Christian or whatever. You can inject that into your performance. Maybe you're a huge sports fan. You go to every single football game, right? Whether it's college football or NFL or whatever, right? You go to every single game, and that's something that you're super passionate about, right? Inject that into your performance. Maybe you are a musician and you love to sing, or you play a musical instrument. Inject that into your performance. Make a list of all the things that you're passionate about, and then all you're going to do is you're going to kind of play the connect the dots game. You're going to say, okay, so I absolutely love music, and over here I do this triumph effect. How can I make the triumph effect be all about music? Well, maybe it's a thing about scales, and you have to feel the notes, and some cards are face up and some cards are face down. So when you spread it out, it looks like a piano because you have like white keys and black keys. I have to figure out if your card is one of the white keys or the black keys, and you're going through the whole thing. And you can do like the ribbon turnover spread, and you can do the brrr, like you're running your fingers down the piano. I don't know. You can come up with whatever you want, right? But being able to connect to your audience by injecting things that you're passionate about into your performance is something that's going to make it a lot easier for you, right? So having conversations with people, being able to go out there and interact with them and get to know them on a one-on-one basis is going to be extremely helpful for you to be able to do that. And then also showing them a little bit about yourself, injecting things that you're passionate about into your performance is going to go a long way into doing this as well. So you have all of these different little tools at your disposal, right? If you guys have any questions for me, please reach out and ask, because I would love to answer these questions for you. And if there's anything that I missed in this video, ideas that you guys have, I'd love to hear from you. If there's anything that you guys need questions about, things that I need to clarify, again, leave a question in the comment section below. It's not just about talking with me too. If you guys want to answer each other's questions and jump in and start a conversation, that's what these videos are meant to do. These are meant to have me give you guys some information, and then have you guys, join the conversation and session and talk about different things that you guys have had to share from your own unique experiences, right? All of that stuff. Again, click the subscribe button if you haven't. Click the bell if you haven't. Ring that bell so that you guys will get notified every time I upload a new video. And you're welcome to click the join button as well. Again, all new membership tier has gone out. The Mob Lieutenant tier, the Mob Lieutenant, Underboss, and Boss tiers. These are all going to get you guys access to the all new family meetings, which are going out the first Saturday of every month at 8 o'clock a.m. Pacific Standard Time, as well as one-on-one direct sessions with me where I can work on this stuff with you guys. That student that I mentioned that had these questions about how to connect to the audience, if you have a question like that, we can work on that stuff together, and we can help each other out to make you guys the best possible entertainers that you can be. But anyway, thank you so much for joining, everyone. I'll see you in the next video. Take care.